Do you have something inspiring to say? Have you always known that your voice can contribute to the world? Is now the time? Yes, now is the time. The world is waiting for you. Welcome to the Inspired Choices Network Open Mic Spotlight Show. Today, we have an inspiring guest who is ready to share their voice with the world. Now, onto the show.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whether you're listening live, you're listening in the replay. I'm so grateful that you're here, and what an amazing, amazing way to begin my day. I'm so grateful. I have another amazing host with me today in the Open Mic Spotlight Show. You know what? I am the luckiest woman in the world because I get to dance with so many amazing beings from all over the world. And, if it wasn't for being on radio and creating this platform, I wouldn't get this honor because, we all don't get in our car and go to different provinces and countries and cities all around the world every day. And yet I have the opportunity to do that. And today I have the opportunity to do that with the one, the only Miss Betsy McLoughlin. Darling, I'm so happy that you are here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I'm very happy to be here too.
So Betsy is an author, a certified facilitator of access consciousness, a transformational coach, a radio show host, a kick-ass class facilitator. She believes in the possibility of creating the life you desire to live and works with her clients to release self-limiting beliefs. Betsy has seen amazing transformations in their lives and is honored to witness their changes. Betsy, I also know, is a massive creator. She creates some of the most gorgeous graphics that I've had the honor and privilege of receiving in a book that we both co-authored in most recently that just went number one, which was Relationships Done Easy. Betsy also creates all sorts of classes with all sorts of different facilitators that people can participate in online. And, of course, her Imperfect Brilliance radio show that she co-creates with Kathy Williams at this moment. She did have another colleague who has made another transition choice, and that was, oh, my gosh, brain. Completely lost it. Sadie Lake. I'm like, I see the S, and my brain, more coffee required. Betsy has been on the radio since September of 2014 with us.
Wow.
How does it get better than that? Betsy, I'm so happy to have you here today. And you know what? I've said this on nearly every show. One of the most heartwarming things and enjoyable things for me in doing these open mic spotlight shows is I get to know more about the people I already know a lot about. So, and I'm really, extremely excited to share that all about you with all of our radio show hosts, or listeners rather. And yes, how can I forget? She's also a magical realtor. Like, Betsy, what don't you do?
Oh, I like that question. Oh, my gosh. You know what I don't do is I don't wallow in the muck anymore.
Nice.
That's what I don't do. Yeah.
A former muck follower. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Betsy, let's start at the beginning. Where were you born and raised?
Wow. Okay, so I was born in beautiful Carmel, California, in the United States, and my father was in the Navy, so kind of went all over. And he got out of the Navy, lived in Dallas for the early teen years, and then moved to Maryland when he lost his job there, and has been in Maryland ever since, and that's on the East Coast of the United States, and actually not too far from our nation's capital. So I've been here quite a long time now. Yeah.
Wow. So did you go to middle school there?
I went to, so the tail end of middle school, high school, and has been here ever since.
Wow, very cool. So, what was it like for you growing up? You traveled, you lived in different places in the U.S. What was that like for you?
There were fun parts and there were not so fun parts. And I was the oldest. I am the oldest of 3 kids, and it kind of had a volatile childhood. Lived in a volatile household, so learned adaptation skills and did my best to be the big sister to protect everybody, and to forge some sort of life and outside of what I knew was possible. Somewhere down inside of me, I knew that there was a lot more that could be created and could be done. So I guess a lot of my life has been a journey in finding that for myself and what that looked like, and really creating a joyful existence as opposed to simply existing.
Mhm. Well, I didn't know this about you, so there's the first thing I've learned about you. So many of us that are in this field of inspiring other people have had some form of unkindness in our childhood that really created a catalyst for us choosing to be something different, to be a different possibility. And, I look forward to the day where people desire to be an inspiration without having to have had that difficulty. And yet, without judging it, we're all learning. And even the people around us that created that. So I'm thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being vulnerable to share that with all of us. Did you find, Betsy, that as you were moving through your childhood and into your adulthood, did you carry that caregiver aspect with you?
That would be a giant yes. Yes, I felt it was my duty to, take care of everybody, except for myself. I discovered that, I had left myself out of that equation and put everybody else's needs and desires, or what I thought were their needs and desires and requirements, ahead of myself, to the point where I was just not in the equation at all.
And how did that fall out for you? Each of us have some way that it finally screams at us. You need to pay the hell attention. How did that fall out for you?
How did it? Well, you're really asking me some amazing questions here. It fell out for me in just getting to the point in my life where I did not want to continue. I was so depressed, and I had created a lot of different illnesses and had suicidal thoughts. And I was just like, if this is my life, I really just don't want to do this anymore. It was just too hard. Nothing was really going the way I wanted it to go. And I just was like, something's got to change, or I just don't want to be here anymore. So that was, a pretty low point in my life.
Did that permeate for a long time, or was that a short window for you?
It permeated for quite a while until it just was like, something's got to change, and I started looking for something. And I had gone to counseling and a lot of, I went through several therapists before I found somebody that I actually felt like I was getting somewhere with. And got a lot better through the therapy. And then it was kind of like, okay, we're talking about the same thing every week, and I'm really just like, I think I'm done with this. Yeah, and something else. There's got to be something else. So in that quest for something else, I discovered Reiki. My sister-in-law actually told me about. She had driven by a place, and she called me. And she's like, I see this sign about Reiki. And my body just got really excited. It was like, oh, what's that? And she told me the woman's phone number. It's like, oh. I've always kind of been curious. And so I went and had a Reiki session, and I loved how I felt. And with that, I've always kind of been if this is something that I think is going to be fun and cool, I'm like, all right, let's do more. And so I dove in and became a Reiki master, took all the different trainings for Reiki. And so that kind of started me on my quest. And then it was like, okay, this is cool, and I feel like there's something else still available to me. And so I just kind of started asking questions. And another friend of mine called me, and she was in New York at the time, and she said, I found this. I think you might really like this. I'm like, oh, what is it? And I had learned a lot about, communicating with angels and all of the different things, just kept looking, what else is there? And there's so many different amazing things out there to contribute to you. And she told me she's like, it was about access bars. So again, being the person I am, I'm like, oh, let me see all about it. And I went online and I found somebody local, and I went and had a bar session, and which is, for anybody listening who doesn't know what it is, it's a gentle touch, 32 different points on your head that will release feelings, thoughts, and emotions that you have stored in your body. And after the first session, I was like, oh my God, I was like kind of on this bliss high. And I thought, how from, an hour and a half, 2 hours, I really don't know how long I was there. I was just kind of floated out. And I was like, wow, I would really like to have more of this in my life. And so from that, then again, desiring to share this with other people, I dove into becoming a teacher and sharing bars with other people. And so that's how I got into Access Consciousness. And from that, which is about 5 years now for me, and from that, my life really has completely changed. So that was a long story.
No, that's good. I mean, I love to see the full picture. So between when you first took Reiki and today, do you remember how long that's been?
Probably about 6 or 7 years, somewhere about a year to 2 years in between finding Reiki and then finding access bars. Yeah, a couple years.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, Betsy, did you, along your journey to this point, did you marry, have children, adopt animals?
I was already married and have a son. And it's all of this has really contributed to our relationship because we were pretty rocky and neither one of us really knew what to do with our lives. And I'd been married before, and I found that I was repeating a lot of the same patterns of unhappiness and passive-aggressive behavior and not knowing how to communicate. So from Access Consciousness and just the tools that you learn here, about how there is a different possibility. Our relationship has changed, and I do have an amazing dog who is he loves the energy work. He loves contributing to it, and so he's amazing too. So it's fun that you asked about animals because they're such a contribution to us. Such an amazing contribution.
And your real estate, when did you start your real estate?
I actually started it the first time quite a long time ago while I was married to my first husband, and I did it for a while, and then probably about 5 years, and then when we divorced, I had the point of view that I couldn't do it on my own. I couldn't without my husband's income, that I needed to go, and I'm doing air quotes, I needed to go get a real job, and I had to be serious and, like,
come on,
and
that
serious. Definitely, right, and that definitely contributed to my downhill, swirl into the muck, because I wasn't happy in that arena of the corporate world, and yet I did it for a very long time. So yeah, I had the point of view that I couldn't support myself, and I needed to go get a real job with benefits and blah 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 blah.
Right.
So
Right.
so then I took a break from. So I thought, well, why am I paying all this money to have my license if I'm not doing anything? So I stopped, and then fast forward maybe 10, 15 years, and I thought, I really desire to do something different. And this is about 10 years ago. I thought, I really loved real estate. So I thought, well, let me get my license again. And it just really excited me. And I love contributing to people and helping them find homes and selling their homes and negotiate. I love the negotiating part of it. And it's so much fun. And now with the tools that I now know with questions and everything, that's just really expanded that world. So I've been back a licensed realtor for 10 years. So I probably have about 17, 18 years total experience with that.
Wow. That's awesome. Whew. Okay, we got the full picture. Well, at least we have some of the picture of our beautiful guest today. We are going to go for our first break of the show, and when we get back, we're going to dive into more things all about Betsy. So stay tuned, everyone. You are listening to the Mike Spotlight Show here on the Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back.
Do you have something inspiring to say? Would you like a taste of being one of our inspired hosts? Get on the air on the Inspired Choices Network Open Mic Spotlight Show. The Open Mic Spotlight Show is your time to shine and inspire our global audience. Shows air at 9 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday each week. Claim your spot today. Simply contact our network owner at info@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Forget the days of 5 minutes of fame. Now you can have 55 minutes of fame.
Could your perceived imperfections actually be your brilliance? What if your willingness to acknowledge your brilliance is the catalyst to creating a new reality? A reality of ease, magic, and joyous possibilities. Tune into Imperfect Brilliance Radio Show with certified facilitators Betsy McLoughlin and Kathy Williams, and receive tools and inspiration to release your limitations and embrace your luminous shine. How much more can you be, do, have, and create in the world? Are you ready to be the inspiration you truly be? Listen to Imperfect Brilliance Radio Show every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
You are listening to the Open Mic Spotlight Show here on Inspired Choices Network. To call in and ask questions, call 815-880-8255 in the U.S., 613-800-8736 in Canada, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the show.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around. And if you're just joining, we are speaking with the beautiful, the none other, Betsy McLoughlin. I think I pronounce your last name incorrectly. My tongue does something funny when I pronounce it. Can you pronounce your last name for me one more time?
McLoughlin.
McLoughlin. I think I need to get an accent in there, Betsy, so I can get it right. There's something.
It's fine.
Okay, so before we went
I'll
for break,
answer.
Before we went for break, you will answer. Before we went for break, you were sharing with us all about you, and all the things that brought you to today, and I really love that whole picture. Something popped into my mind. What is the radio show that you created with Sadie that you're now doing with Kathy?
Mm-hmm.
What is imperfect brilliance? What is that?
It's about embracing your brilliance, and we tend to really judge ourselves like nonstop, and we're never, we don't do this right, we don't do that right. I just can't get it the way I want it. And so it was talking about, it's really, the whole thing kind of just came about actually at Facilitator training in Costa Rica. we were in a class, and Sadie came running up to me, something that I had shared. I really don't even remember, but she was like, oh my God, we really should do like a telecall on this or something. And from there, it just went from a telecall into the radio show, and she's like, hey, do you want to do this? And I was like, wow, that sounds really fun. And it's about embracing what you think is imperfect, and what if what you think is imperfect is actually your brilliance. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how it came about.
So, okay, cool. And what was it about you that you felt was imperfect that you now acknowledge is brilliant?
Wow. You know, gosh, there's so many different places I could go with this. And one of the things in my journey has been when I tend to, when I was upset and depressed and everything, I turned very much inward, and I used food as a comfort, as a substitute for, and I really have done that my whole life, like looked for food as a comfort and a substitute for what I was looking for that I was not receiving. And so I became a closet eater, and I hid it. And then there were a lot of points of view in my household about bodies and size and weight. And it was like no matter what size I wasn't perfect. And in my life, I have weighed I've been a lot of different sizes. I've been up to like a size 32 or 34 in women's clothes. 500 pounds, which was quite an interesting place to be. And yeah, so in that, there's just been I have learned so much about bodies and judging and the projections that I heard from other people, as well as all the judgments and everything that I did to myself, that kind of kept me in that loop of self-hatred and recrimination, and I can't do anything right, and you have no control over your body, and I felt like my body let me down tremendously. Like, how come everybody else around me can eat and they don't gain weight, and I did? And, so now I kind of lost my train of where I was going here. The train left the station without me.
Well, the radio show, The Imperfect Brilliance, and this was one of the areas. Now, I said, what did you judge about you that was imperfect that you now know is brilliant?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and a lot of that was around my body. And learning, like, there's definitely been so many judgments about all the imperfections of my body and all the imperfections of my life, and what I have judged so harshly around all of that. And what if all of this was a gift that I was not willing to see or receive? And what if when now I have such a different understanding of the challenges that you go through when you are that, when your body is larger like that most people would never even think about, because it's just not in their radar at all, and the unkindness that can be hurled at you when you're different,
Right.
And I see that just as much of people that are very, very thin as people who are very, very large, and everything in between. And I've come to realize that it has nothing to do with the size that your body is in whatever particular moment in time.
Yeah, it's interesting how an experience can begin to show up, and in showing up, it actually starts to create some other I'm going to call it self-abuse. In that, it's not a kindness to us to turn off who we truly be and to buy into everybody else's behaviors and judgments, and allow it to really hit us like darts on a dartboard,
yes.
right?
And, absolutely.
And then what we do is we begin to layer on more and more and more, and layer on, whatever it is that our thing is, right? For some people it might be alcohol. For other people it might be, cutting their arms. For another person, like yourself, it was food. And, everybody can, we all often reach for other things when we're trying to quiet the insanity that we're running away from, that we never seem to be able to run away from, right? And then we end up with all of these other things that now we have to deal with all of this other. And wow, we're just like, we're in this pool of massive self-judgment. It's like you need a backhoe to lift all this stuff off of ourselves. And yet, Betsy, you have.
Yeah.
So tell us what you have been doing to really move beyond that, what you said, closet eating and that self-abuse. What changed it for you?
Wow. Again, when I talked about earlier about, I just didn't want to continue with my life the way it was, a large part of that was the size that I was and the depression. I just was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And, so like what other choices are there? And so realizing that it has very little to do with the size of your body was one of the huge ahas for me, because no matter what size you are, if you don't take care of yourself and the things that are contributing to the depression and the upset and the illnesses and everything else, you could be 100 pounds, you could be 1,000 pounds, and you're still you, right? And so one of the things that I have learned is, sometimes people would say to me, "You have such a pretty face." dot 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 dot. Right. So all the implied stuff is right, right. Yeah. Oh, so it's like, okay, so and talk about just invalidating the rest of you. So in the quest for me and all of me, whatever size my body is, to embrace who I truly be, because we're not our bodies. And that's been an incredible thing for me to learn, is we are not our bodies. We are us, no matter what, we look at. Do we ever look the same 2 days in a row? Right? Right. Something's always changing. So in learning that, wow, this really isn't about my body at all, and taking care of me, putting myself in the equation, and finding some of these amazing, through everything that I talked about already that I've journeyed with in my life, food has become a lot different in my world. And not to say that I don't fall back sometimes on old patterns, but and if I do, I'm like, okay, interesting choice I made here, and what else can I choose now? As opposed to beating myself up and it's hopeless and, oh my God, I just ate, half a thing of ice cream. Well, I might as well just finish ice cream, and, then feeling so sick that I can't move, and, every abuse that did to my body. Now it's just like, okay, well, that was interesting. So now what can we choose now? So that has been a huge change. And I realized, it has absolutely nothing to do with the number on the scale.
And so, Betsy, when you were, you said your largest, your body was, you said around 500 pounds. What was it that changed it for you? It wasn't simply just not eating, right?
That is correct. Yeah, it's way beyond not eating. It's about really, for me, it was about taking care of myself and honoring myself and the being that I be, as well as my body. And when I started like realizing that I can be that with me and for me, no matter what size I am, that everything shifted and food became a lot less important. And a lot less of a focus. I used to spend a lot of time like, okay, I'm going to go buy blah, blah, X, Y, and Z. And then and it was a lot of obsessing, I guess, about what I was going to eat, and more about even getting it and the whole thing about hiding it and then just gorging and then feeling so awful afterwards, just physically, as well as the abuse I've hurled on myself for doing it yet again. To I don't do that anymore. And it's like, wow, I hadn't even thought about that. So thank you for that question. So it's so much lighter and freer in my world to not be in that cycle of the binge eating and the obsessing about what was I going to eat next.
Right. And a lot of what you've chosen in, starting with Reiki and all the modalities you've gone through have contributed to you being in that space of being able to look at your choices and starting to obviously increase the kindness to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, that gave me chills.
Well, it's, I don't know, I just perceive so many people that have been so unkind to themselves, and, they're perpetuating someone else's judgment onto themselves. It's like flogging yourself when somebody says that you're bad, and none of that is true. And yet it goes on everywhere. So I'm really grateful, Betsy, that you are being an amazing example, and the vulnerability you're sharing with us today, because it's individuals like you and so many others that I've spoken to in their choices of saying, you know what, I'm changing this and I'm going to be an inspiration for someone else. That's what's changing the world. And whether we change it for ourselves and others watch, or we change it for ourselves and we share out loud what it is that we've been doing, that's a huge invitation to change the world. And I'm very grateful for that. Thank you so much, Betsy, and for being on our network and being that invitation each and every day for others that listen. It's a gift. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Wow, thank you very much.
You're welcome. And so while the two of us wipe our eyes, because they're leaking right now, we're going to go for our second break of the show, and we're just going to bask in this glory that we've just created here with our beautiful Betsy McLoughlin. I think I'm getting it right now. And when we get back, I've got some more questions to learn more about the beautiful Betsy. Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back.
Do you have something inspiring to say? Would you like a taste of being one of our inspired hosts? Get on the air on the Inspired Choices Network Open Mic Spotlight Show. The Open Mic Spotlight Show is your time to shine and inspire our global audience. Shows air at 9 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday each week. Claim your spot today. Simply contact our network owner at info@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Forget the days of 5 minutes of fame. Now you can have 55 minutes of fame.
Could your perceived imperfections actually be your brilliance? What if your willingness to acknowledge your brilliance is the catalyst to creating a new reality? A reality of ease, magic, and joyous possibilities. Tune into Imperfect Brilliance Radio Show with certified facilitators Betsy McLoughlin and Kathy Williams, and receive tools and inspiration to release your limitations and embrace your luminous shine. How much more can you be, do, have, and create in the world? Are you ready to be the inspiration you truly be? Listen to Imperfect Brilliance Radio Show every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
You are listening to the Open Mic Spotlight Show here on Inspired Choices Network. To call in and ask questions, call 815-880-8255 in the U.S., 613-800-8736 in Canada, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the show.
Well, we've composed ourselves. We are ready to jump right back in. There's a lot of action in the chat room. I can't even keep up with all of it, for God's sake. It's a little wild in here. But I have some questions, and we have someone in the chat room that has some questions. So Eleanor has asked, what is most important in your self-care, Betsy?
Me. Keeping me in. I have tended to just disassociate and separate myself from being present. And so for me it's reminding myself when I find myself shutting down or tuning out to something, to be like, okay, where am I in that equation? And if I've realized that I'm not there, then it's about remembering that it's really, okay, so it's just like remembering that I am important in the equation of me.
Yeah, I get that. And I think what I heard you starting to say is being present, like really making the demand of yourself to be present.
Yes.
Right? And
absolutely.
to stay, okay, be here, get in your body, show up. And when we're doing that, and we're not doing this mindless, because I do that too, I do this mindless eating, and then I go, what in the Lord? What was that? And sometimes it is, there's so much distracting us, and so many things are in our heads that are really pulling on us, and we're doing this mindless choice. And so being that presence is awesome. Eleanor also asked, what brings you into presence, Betsy?
One of the great things is the access bars. When I find myself being and wanting to, one of my really good indicators.
How do you spell that?
It's when my husband's driving me nuts, everything he's doing, I just want to smack him around. I'm like, okay, it's time to get my bars run. And so that for me is a really important part of self-care and presence. And there's just something so amazing about it, with an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long you have in that session. It clears everything that just doesn't really matter, and brings you back to you. And like you said, if you find yourself doing the mindless eating, be like, oh, okay, interesting choice I made here. Can I choose something different now, without the self-recriminations, without the judgment of all the awful things that we've all said to ourselves over many, many years. So it's really consciously changing those patterns that keep us in that same insanity. So then when you change the pattern, and you realize, you recognize, if you start, for me, if I start disassociating, if I start distracting, if I, oh, okay. And I've asked my body to let me know when I'm doing that. And really including my body, like I said earlier, my body and me together, when they're not two separate things, which I really didn't realize I was doing for a large part of my life, and to be in communion with both my being and my body. And so when, it was such a huge shift for me. And then the other thing that is so wonderful with the tools that we are also privileged to have discovered and incorporated into our life is the question. And the question always empowers. and the judgments, the conclusions, the decisions we make always disempower. So in asking whatever question might, and a lot of times it's more than one question, it will shift whatever the conclusion is that I might have made. So for me, that's also a great component of staying present and self-care for myself.
Right. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so my next question is, Betsy, what is inspiration to you?
Oh, wow. Joy. Children laughing, people playing, people having fun. The juicy, excited, bubbly feeling that will just take over my body. It's so, I'm like, oh yes, more of that, yes please. That's all inspiring to see people choosing for them, whatever that is, whatever works for them. Is hugely inspiring. The vulnerability that, when people are that, and they truly show who they are, all of that is just, to me, it's just so beautiful and so inspiring. And it's like, yes, that's what I love to see in the world and see people doing and being.
Nice. So, Betsy, what is inspiring to you about you?
Wow.
Oh dear! I think I hit a funny bone, everybody.
Yes, I do believe you did. What is it? I shouldn't even remember the question. I'm sorry.
What is inspiring to you about you?
Oh, my laughter. Like I do have a lot of fun laughing. What is inspiring else is from where I have come to who I am today. Holy guacamole. Like that is a huge, I'm getting chills even saying it. Yeah, so thank you for that question. And everywhere that any of us have not acknowledged the inspiration we truly be, would you be willing to do that? Right? And yeah. What invitation is that for more inspiration for all of us?
I just want to sit with that. I'm just basking in what you just said. Yeah.
Thank you.
Please, can we all choose more of that? Let's have a little bit more joy in the world. Yeah. Speaking of the world, Betsy, what is important to you in the world? What is really important to you?
Wow. This energy, this space of choosing different and acknowledging who you are and the inspiration you are, and knowing that you can make a difference. If you've touched one person, if you've contributed to one person, you have made a difference somewhere in the world. And you have no idea how that impact for that one person can set off a whole chain reaction of something different, something more inspiring, something. Gratitude is coming in too, right? So for the gratitude of all of that, and then knowing that you can choose something different every second of every day, no matter what choices you've made.
Yeah. It's I know you work with individuals one-on-one, and so do I. And I just looking at that question again, and I've asked that question of every single one of the interviews that I've done, and it's something just popped in for me is the what can we be or do to really change people seeing their self-worth, like really acknowledging their self-worth, acknowledging their brilliance, acknowledging their contribution, and drop the crap around that this is, you're being boisterous, you're being what is the word I'm looking for, Betsy? You're being a show off, you're just You're just, boasting yourself. And I'd like to see more boasting, please. Like, it makes me crazy when and I know that it was the same, and I'm going to say it's the same for you, because when I acknowledged you, the tears that came up, right?
Yes.
And oftentimes those tears will come up because there's spaces and places where we haven't acknowledged ourselves, haven't been willing to acknowledge them more than a glimpse. And although those are the spaces and places where our whole being aches to be acknowledged. And it's like the dam opens up, like, oh my gosh, it's finally happened. You know what I mean? Like, and thank you for acknowledging you, and thank you for being willing to step into this, because there's something percolating. I'm not sure what it is. Something is percolating about this. But this unwillingness to acknowledge ourselves is stopping so much of who we truly be and what we can contribute to the world. And I mean, a child gets a sticker when they come home and they go, "Mommy, Daddy, look what I did," right? And they're so excited, and they go, "Oh, Billy, oh, Susie, that's amazing." And Billy and Susie shine even brighter. But they had to tell Mommy and Daddy, right? They had to tell Mommy and Daddy, right? Would we be all willing to say, "Look at me, look what I did today"?
Yes, and really, like, acknowledging. It's so easy to see the beauty in everyone else, to see the magnificence of them, to see their brilliance. And so I love where this conversation is right now. Like, what would it take to really look and see the magnificent, the beauty, the talent, the inspiration that you be?
Yeah.
And talking about the change that we desire to see in the world, what if that is a huge component to it?
Yeah, and Eleanor has a great question. Is there a rightness to acknowledgement and a wrongness to boasting? Well, I'm going to say the access question. Betsy, are you ready? Eleanor,
go for it.
What do you know? It is a good show topic. Yes, thank you so much, Eleanor, for that.
Sure.
And there's no rightness. I don't believe that there's a rightness or a wrongness to it. The rightness or the wrongness is in the eye of the judger, right? And what I know is oftentimes, like you said, Betsy, while there's so many thoughts in my head, it's hard to hold on to them all. You said we will acknowledge other people. It's easy for us to see the beauty in someone else, right?
Yeah.
Well, what popped into my head is, because we're looking for what it is within ourselves that we have decided is lacking. Right? Like we're looking over there and we're like, "Oh my God, he's so amazing." And at that time, so often, I don't mean every single time, but so often it's because we're looking within ourselves and saying, "Oh, I don't have that. They are super amazing." And it's not that we can't acknowledge each other and we can't be, really see each other, but oftentimes there is this underlying energy of, that's not me. I don't have that. And it's the judgment of the acknowledgement or the boasting. It's really it's the judger that decides whether it's right or wrong. And what, right?
We're the judge, the jury, the executioner.
Yep, it's a 3-hat. It's a 3-tier hat. Oh my gosh.
We don't need anybody else to do that. It is. We're so good at it, right? Like, and it is. And that is all part of, that insanity that we can inflict on ourselves.
Right. I like that. We do inflict it on ourselves. So, what would you like to choose in your life today that will begin to create more joy? Just more joy. Is it a beautiful glass of water? Is it a nice cup of coffee? Is it a walk by the water? Like, is it reading a book for 5 minutes? What is it that could bring you just one increment of joy that you could grow tomorrow and the next day and the next day? And I think that's something that each and every one of us can be looking at. So Betsy, tell me, what are you creating in the world right now? Because I know you're a massive creator, and we have about 4 minutes left in the show. I'd like to tell everybody where they can find you, where they can connect with you, how they can hire you for all your brilliance, all the different brilliances, and tell us what you're creating in the world today.
Thank you so much. So people can find me on Facebook, and my email address is accessbetsy@gmail.com, and I do have a website called creatingyumminess.com, Creating Yumminess, because I really desire to create lots and lots of yumminess in the world, and however I can contribute to people. I do private sessions like Christine mentioned. I do energetic work as well as coaching. I have lots of classes coming up. There's the foundation. I have one actually in April in Virginia, and working on a couple of telecalls right now, actually one about Canva basics, 1, 2, 3 of Canva, and looking at a lot of other co-creations with people. So I love collaborating and playing with other people. And I realized that for a long time, like, I got judged for that. Like, I wasn't doing anything on my own. And I thought, that's actually one of my strongnesses. So how much fun can I have with playing with other people? So, and I'm also looking at what I can create by myself. So, thank you for that question. Well, and I'm always open to traveling and doing classes anywhere in the world. So.
Beautiful. And if someone's interested in your real estate, where would they contact you? Same email address?
Yes, absolutely. They can do the same. And I also do, thank you for asking that question, I also do sessions with houses, and I can do that remotely. I've helped people who have been trying to sell their house and are having problems or looking at buying something. I can tap into the energy of it and really ask a lot of questions that can bring into, I guess, what's the word? Just kind of really just contribute whatever the people are looking for, and that's been a lot of fun. It's like the house whisperer, so I'm having a lot of fun with that as well. As well as selling or renting or real estate, residential or commercial. So lots of fun, lots of different things that I do, and I really like, how many other things can I create?
Well, I know you're very much like me. You love doing lots of different things, and it's enjoyable. It's like the buffet of this life that we get to create. We get to step up to that table and we get to choose whatever we would like. How does it get any better than that?
Yes, ma'am.
So, Betsy, my final question, Jeopardy question. What is your message? What is your message for all our listeners for 2017?
Wow. Embrace you, the beautiful you. Would you be willing to stop running away from you? Would you be willing to really be all of you, not parts of you, but all of you, and whatever that looks like. And
beautiful.
Be the inspiration you truly, truly be.
Awesome. Well, you definitely have been an inspiration for us today, Betsy. I am very grateful for everything you shared and everything you're creating in the world, and most especially here on the network. Of course, I'm going to boast about that. Imperfect Brilliance. You can catch them on the site, and you can catch all of their replays. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Take care, Betsy. Bye for now, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Open Mic Spotlight Radio Show. We will be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Mountain, and 6 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, continue to create you with joy and inspiration.